Good morning, David.
Morning, Les. How you doing?
Before you say anything, David, yes, this shirt is very bright. And audience, David thinks he needs to wear sunglasses because this is too bright, and I shocked him this morning.
Yeah,
So,
well, I mean, I rest my case. I'll just put it up for a poll here. How many
yeah.
people should be wearing sunglasses right now?
Let's have the audience vote on that and comment on it. Is
Yeah, we
this
don't
too
have our
bright?
poll up, but anyway.
There you go.
Well, good morning, Les. I'm glad at least I'm awake looking at this shirt. I just got to keep my eyes a little bit squinted here. So here's we're on dynamic. This is dynamic healing moments, and again, dynamic healing honors you as a person and how you process your life. So one thing we're talking about this week, next couple of weeks, is death and loss. And for instance, one of the biggest risks of becoming a parent is losing your child. Yeah. One of the risks of becoming in a relationship is losing that relationship. So life is full of risk, and the losses do occur predictably at some point, including the loss of our own lives. And my father's services are this Friday. And so Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week, we will not be having Facebook Live, but we'll continue discussing loss next week. But I want to start out with one little quote from the book called The Way to Love by Anthony DeMello that most of you have heard of just listening to me. And here it is: suffering and glory. Think of some of the painful events in your life. For how many of them are you grateful today? Because thanks to them, you changed and grew. Here's a simple truth of life that most people never discover. Happy events make life delightful, but they do not lead to self-discovery and growth and freedom. That privilege is reserved to the things in person and situations that cause us pain. So the way this has become such a big deal for me in the chronic pain world is that my patients suffer, and offering is the suffering that flares up the pain that brings them into my office. And the losses are horrific. They're horrible. I'm not even going to mention them, but people suffer. All of us suffer, and some of us suffer really badly. So I'll ask somebody, well, they say, well, my mother passed away. I go, well, when did she pass away? And they'll say, well, 10 years ago. So it's sad that your mother passed, but that was 10 years ago. So if it was you and you had passed away, what would you want your family to do? And the answer we're looking for today is that you want them to live a good life. You don't want them to mope around for 10 years because of your loss. And so my thing is just flip it around. Honor those you lost by living a great life. And it's a huge difference. You don't have to get over the loss because it's part of your life now. Loss is part of life, including your own life eventually. So it's made a big difference for me personally. For many of my patients, is this understanding that honoring that loss is really a lot different thing than becoming a victim of that loss.
Yeah, absolutely, David. I think that the key part here is I just want to piggyback on what you said. So audience, one of the things that when we say honor when someone has passed is there's another way of looking at this, is just like to add to David's comments here, is when someone dies, doesn't matter if it's 10 years ago, 1 year ago, several weeks ago, is one of the psychological reasons why grieving is very painful, besides the reasons of anger, guilt, and a variety of other things, is things that we should have done, said, spent more time. That's very human, just know that. But often in my 18 years of experience in doing this grief work with many different patients, just like you, David, is I've noticed one thing unique, and I learned this through my grief process with my father dying.
Right. At a very young age also.
At a very young age, yeah. He was only like 67 or something like that.
Right.
And I was in my fellowship, I think, at that point in my residency. And I remember this is after his death, I went back to my training, just want to get on with life. And I couldn't quite concentrate, and I'd have these meltdowns for several months. And then I realized is one of the reasons why I was grieving hard was not so much the guilt or anything. I kept on picturing his last moments and how feeble he was and weak on the bed. So honor your loved ones or anyone who's passed as thinking of them at their best. Because when we pass, David, when I pass, you're going to think of me in this red shirt, this bright, right? So, and I'm going to think of you at your smart aleck mode. My point here is this: honor people who have passed, like David said, and my add-on is think of them at their best, not at their worst. How do you do that? Grab a picture of them at their healthiest time in their life. And that's what you want to really focus on.
Yeah, you're right. I happened to pick up a book my brother put together. Let me try and find a picture.
Yep.
And here's you can't see it very clearly, but here's a family picture when my uncle passed when he was 61. And my father and uncle were really close friends. And I look at my father and I forget that he looked like that. I mean, he's in good shape. He's active. He's vital. He's got 4 young kids. And, obviously the tragedy is he married a woman that was pretty angry, and he was quite the pillar of a family. So this is going to be a very emotional weekend.
Yeah.
So being a victim is different than being emotional. You don't have to just, there's some need we have in all of us to become a victim of this loss. And it's different than being just sad.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely. We want to honor the feelings. We want to honor the people. And what that means is make room for it and think of them at their best. And David says, think of them at their best time. Because when we pass, how would you like to be thought of? Right. So, and the second thing is to live the best life is would your loved one want you to be the healthiest, to spread love and to do all these healthy lifestyle stuff. That's what we're asking people to do as another way of grieving, but shifting towards a sense of healing.
I just had a thought. We've talked about the whole work that you do, the acceptance and commitment therapy is allowing yourself to feel.
Mm-hmm.
It just struck me as I'm talking to you that when you're in this victim, frustrated, angry mode, it blocks feelings. Do you think that's one of the reasons why we do this?
Absolutely. We talked about this, and audience, one of the things that Dave and I were talking about before we came on, I'll be talking to my group today about, why suffering is so painful sometimes with chronic pain, loss, job, 2020, the COVID, all of this stuff, and just grief now we're talking about. It's because we're doing 3 specific things that amplifies the grief or the loss of something. We're resisting a reality, we're attached to an outcome, and we're avoiding the pain, the emotions. And when you resist, attach to an outcome, and avoid, you amplify suffering. When you welcome, as we've been talking about, the unwelcome feeling, learn skills on how to kind of dip your toe in and out of that painful feeling. And in small amounts, you will start to grieve in a healthy manner.
So here's our quote homework for the day is think about somebody that you lost. And we all have losses. It won't be hard to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that person at their best. And then just make a decision today to live a really great day for that person. Honor that person. And then also become aware is that we all do this. I do this at least 10 times a day. It drives me crazy. Is I go in the victim mode all the time. That is life, by the way. But just become aware when you do that, because that was a big factor for me when where I might need to be in the victim mode and stay in the victim mode and keep going back into it. But by becoming aware of it, including victim of losses, then it dissolves it. That's what DeMello's saying is just aware. I mean, this book, The Way to Love, is really the way to awareness.
Yep.
Remember, awareness and anger cannot exist in the same room. And the pathway to anger is being a victim. And you can become a victim of almost anything, including the inevitable of loss of life. Yeah. So think of that person, think of them at their best, and really just make a decision to live today in a really powerful way.
Yep.
So anyway, thank you, Les. So this is Dynamic Healing Moments, and Dr. Aria can be found at remedypain.com, and I can be found
.co?
Okay. All right. They say repetition helps, right?
Apparently it doesn't work for some.
.co. Hey, bro. Hey, co. What is this co thing? What the heck?
I'm sorry, David. So
are you okay? You're the only co I know. Okay. And then I'm at thedocjourney.com. All right. All right. Have a great day. And we will see you next Monday. All right.